Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Minnesota Mike back with you for another video. This is another one in my vlog series that I do through the Memphis Songwriters Association in conjunction with the blog that I write for them, all about songwriting and what has worked for various artists over the years as they've written songs. Now, mostly we focus on songwriters writing their own songs, so they write them and they sing them. But in this latest set of 4 vlogs, we have looked at uh, the idea of writing on assignment. So you write the song and another artist cuts the song. We've looked at 2 songs with this so far in my vlogs. We've looked at Crocodile Rock by Elton John. Elton John wrote the melody and Bernie Taupin wrote the lyrics, so we looked at kind of a partnership like that. And we also looked at Staying Alive in the context of writing for a movie. Obviously, TV shows fall into that category, but we looked at Saturday Night Fever being the movie that they were writing for. So now we're going to shift gears just a little bit and talk about another song, another way to write a song for another artist, and that's where you write the song specifically for the artist. We're going to look at No Shoes, No Shirt, No Problems by Kenny Chesney, and this particular song was written by Casey Beathard, who I should point out had already had one song cut by Kenny Chesney from 1997, I believe it was. But in an earlier blog, I briefly mentioned how Nashville songwriters really have a gift of taking a cliche or a common phrase and throwing it on its head, tipping it on its head, and just turning it into kind of a new phrase that we think about now. So, as a listener, if we hear the phrase "no shoes, no shirt, no service," we probably think of a long-haired hippie and a job turning them down, a potential employer turning them down, refusing them service just because of how they look, their long hair. But finding a place where you can be your laid-back self rather than being kicked out for not wearing shoes or a shirt, it adds a nice little twist to this already common phrase. So before we dive into the analysis of this song, it's worth noting that although this falls under the writing on assignment umbrella, um, this particular person, Casey Beathard, did not initially go about writing the song for Kenny Chesney. It just happened to work out that way. He was writing it, he played it for a friend, and a friend, that particular friend knew Kenny Chesney and said, "Hey, get this song to him." And Kenny Chesney told Casey Beathard, "Finish the song and I'll cut it." Because at the time, Kenny was, escaping to the Virgin Islands a lot. And so it's really where his head was at. So he said, "Hey, finish the song and I'll cut it." And that was after he had already begun writing the song. So it wasn't like, "Hey, Kenny Chesney needs a song." It was that song would be good for Kenny Chesney. So lyrically, this particular song follows a character who's been working his tail off and needs some sort of escape. As it says in the first verse, he's been up to my neck working 6 days a week, wearing holes in the soles of the shoes of my feet. Going back to our discussion about rhyme scheme, the interline rhyme of holes in the soles just flows so nicely. His desire to be somewhere in the sun and the sand with a drink in my hand, and a drink in my hand with no bottom, that just really flows nicely into the chorus, right? The holes of the soles of the shoes of my feet. And then, he has that desire for a bottomless drink. So, for context, once again, the initial phrase, "no shoes, no shirt, no service," comes from that anti hippie sentiment, and the laid back hippies in question were anti establishment, the establishment being the man. And the man in this case is the main character's straight laced boss, who, wants him to put in the work no matter how much, with no questions asked. So in my last blog about character development, I made a snarky comment about the song "That's the Only Way I Know" being written by somebody else and cut by people who, probably live in Franklin. And although the stresses of performing for a living doesn't compare fully to the stresses of a 9 to 5, like I said, Kenny said that the reason for cutting the song when he did is that he had been escaping to the Virgin Islands while not on tour. The mentality of the song was exactly where his head was. And after the success of the song, his escapism mentality, that would really be a recurring theme in many of Kenny's future songs, including Old Blue Chair, Be As You Are, Somewhere in the Sun, and Guitars and Tiki Bars. And it all started with this particular song. So when Casey Beathard says, hey, this song has been really big for me, which he did say when I saw him live a handful of years ago, he it was big for him, obviously, but it was also big for Kenny Chesney. So it should be pointed out that sometimes those songwriters just connect with a lyric even if they didn't write it themselves. So melodically, this song contains a guitar, a ukulele, a violin in the intro of the song's album version, and mixes in some bongos as well. The song has an island feel to it, and that includes that marimba that can be heard on the solo, evoking that island sound. The chord progression is fairly simple in the song. It's written in G major. It starts with an intro of G to E minor, alternating with the G, the 1 and the 2, and then the E minor, the 3 and the 4 count. 1 and 2 beat, I should say, and the 3 and the 4 beat. This rhythm repeats through the verse, goes from a G to E minor for 4 bars, then an A minor to a D7, repeating for 4 bars. In the chorus, we start with the C chord, then it goes to the D chord for 1 bar each, to the G chord for 2 bars. This progression repeats for the first and second stanzas of the chorus. On the third stanza of the chorus, we go C to D to G, all major chords, and then scale-wise, we walk down from the G to the D, to the E minor, to the with no bottom, and that goes to the C, the D, and the G to resolve the chorus. This particular walk down, moving the bass line along the G, F sharp, E, and that's repeated in the bridge, maybe kind of more of a refrain, which resolves on the C, the D, to the G. So structurally, this particular song follows a verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, solo ending format. The second verse, a romantic interest, is added. Want to look through my shades and see you there with me. And the ending mirrors that. Babe, let's get packed. Tank tops and flip-flops if you got 'em. No shoes, no shirt, no problems. This particular song, speaking of no shirt, no shoes, no shirt, no problems, this song is embedded below for your listening pleasure. So next time, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about where you write a song and another artist cuts it. You had no plans for them to cut it, but they just liked it so much. So be sure to tune in next time. Once again, I am Minnesota Mike. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this particular song influenced your songwriting in a positive way. Thank you so much.